Hey everyone, this is Dave from Brisbane, Australia. This is part 3 of 3 videos I'm covering. We've done the 750K, we've done the 750F. Now it's time for the big brother, the 1100F. So CB1100F, 1 year only model, 1983. This is a US spec bike. The Euro spec had gold Comstars and a few of the bits and pieces which were different, but this is the US spec. So let's do a bit of a walk around. This could be 20-25 minutes. I'm going to go quite detailed here. It's not often we get to see bikes like this up on the stand, so I've got a unique kind of vantage point to look at this highly original. By the way, nothing against resto mods, nothing against daily riders, but this is my highly original. Actually, it is a daily rider. I ride it 3 or 4 times a week, so it's not concours condition, but it is highly original. So let's have a walk around and let's talk about the bike's history and some of these original components. As I mentioned, black alloys as opposed to gold Comstars. This front end was pretty much as it is when I got the bike. Forks were in great condition. The finish Honda used on these forks for a number of bikes, including my 750F, same black finish. Very hard to reproduce. So whatever they did back in the day was a great in terms of longevity. Twin pot calipers as opposed to the single piston or pot on my other 750s. I did replace these front hoses. Although I'm a great lover of originality, these needed replacing, so I got them made to look by a friend here in Australia who makes these retro look brake lines, but I did reuse my banjo bolts. Key thing here is the routing. The correct routing is this S shape. It took me a long time actually to find that bracket to make sure they were routed correctly. I changed the fork seals, not a hard job, a couple of 3 hours all up. So that's all good now. I'll come back and talk about indicator stays probably in about 20 minutes. We'll come back and touch upon that topic later on. In terms of the front end, that's probably it. Fork brace, you don't see that on the 750s. I think the 900s had that, but the 750s didn't. Oil cooler, 900s had that, 750s didn't. Well, they could retrofit it to a 750F, but the 1100s had the oil cooler. By now, most owners would have replaced these oil lines because they will leak after 40 odd years. Mine are okay at the moment. There's a couple of great guys on the 1100.net forum which will help you replace those lines if you need to. I'll talk pipes later on. When I first got this bike, it had a black cam cover. Looked great, but I wanted to go back to stock, so I've still got the black one, but this is a replacement. I experimented with CBR600 coils and leads at some point, not because it was starting badly, but I thought that was the way to go. But to be honest, I prefer the stock look, and it starts very well, this bike does, so I've gone back to stock leads. The actual leads might be different, non-stock, but the coils are definitely the stock coils. What else can we say about this? Clutch cover is original, but I think it might have been repainted. I don't know. The clutch covers I've seen on guaranteed original bikes have got slightly more of a matte finish, so that may have been repainted. Very easy to scuff these when a rider is, including me, with boots on and braking, they can get scuffed, so it wouldn't surprise me that got repainted. My oil pressure rubber cap is intact. If you're trying to find one of those, look out for the Honda, I think it's a CN250, the Super Dream. They had them on, and the CBX1000 also had those on, so can't find it for this bike. Have a look on those bikes. My fuel auto cut-off switch was playing up, and you'll hear people say, take it off, open the garage door and throw it as far as you can. I wanted the stock look, so I wanted to keep mine, although they're not required. You don't have to have them, but their purpose is to, when the engine's not running, the diaphragm in there closes and stops fuel flowing. When the engine runs, the diaphragm opens by the air pressure, and fuel will flow. So it should stop. If you're sticking float in here, it should stop any fuel gushing out on the floor overnight, which is not a pleasant thing to see. I'm wearing a headlamp on my head, so any flaws are going to get shown up here. Any paint scratches are going to get shown up. So I apologise for that in advance. I've got the original toolkit behind there. I won't show you, but that's a original toolkit bag. When I had this bike, I had a drilled disc, which is great for kind of the unsprung weight would have been less, but I had to find a replacement disc. This is an original disc that I had to get re-skimmed actually, because it was a bit rough. So I got that re-skimmed. It's still within the 6mm tolerance. Original shock absorbers, and any original owner will tell you these are good for the day, but not by modern standards. These have not been rebuilt, but they perform kind of okay. No complaints. Had to rebuild the rear brake piston, or master cylinder, sorry, in there with a new piston. I've got my original hose in the back here. I should change that at some point, but for the moment I'm going to live with it. Calipers all original. Dust cover was hard to find. That wasn't on the bike when I got it, but managed to find one of those, a friend in the US. Swing arm was also jet black. Looked kind of cool, but I took off the swing arm, new bearings, and had it wet painted, not powder coated, to be the exact match. And when I say exact, I mean this is the exact, down to the individual ingredients in the paint, this is the exact match for the original colour. I'm running Battle Axe tyres on here. It's either those for me or Avon Roadrunners. Either of those work well. In terms of this rear sprocket, you might see a 44 up here. That's not the correct number of teeth, but my original sprocket with the correct number of teeth for stock didn't have this sprocket cover. So I think Mr. Cook, you know who you are in the US, sold me this sprocket with the cover attached. I'm sorry it's not super clean, so I'm using that at the moment. I might get my cover reattached to my original sprocket, get it re-riveted at some point, but for the moment this is okay. Got that decal replaced on there. My good friend over on the east coast of Canada helped me, because although the rear shock, this decal was intact, this one was missing. So he helped me, Michelle, east coast of Canada, helped me with that. These grab handles, very hard to find. The 750-900 ones in chrome, a bit easy, but the black ones, it's got this beautiful fleck chrome, black chrome finish. They're very hard to find. Might drop off this side cover. It comes off easy enough. I have the manual upstairs. Don't keep it on the bike. Let me tell you the catch tank story. So oil catch tanks. What happens on the 750 versions of this bike? The gases from the engine vent out through, or the crankcase from this side and the other side. They vent out into the air intake on the 750 bikes. On the 1100s, and certainly, well, maybe 900s, but certainly 1100s, it vents out to this catch tank. So any gases and maybe some little dribbles of, oil would accumulate in here and can be drained off rather than going out to the atmosphere. What else can we look at over here? New petcock. That's a new old stock petcock. Got my old one still, but that was playing up, so I found a new old one, but $150. The paintwork, this Maui red, is original. It's gorgeous. I daren't even touch it, it's that good. The reason I know it's original is it was flaking down here. If it had been repainted, it wouldn't have been flaking. So I used the official Honda touch-up paint, which I luckily have, just to clean up that area, stop any moisture getting in. All right, so let's talk about pipes. Sankey 2048, although that in itself is not significant because the 750s have that. The significant thing is that code there, which tells you this is the correct stock pipes, mufflers for CB1100F. The A at the end stands for America as opposed to E for Europe. These pipes don't have the EPA, nor, is that in focus? Let me get that in focus. They don't have the EPA stampings on there. That's the noise pollution control stampings, because this is a fairly early bike, probably manufactured late 82, and that rule came into place in 1st of January 83 onwards. So you will see some 1100s with that stamping on there, and some with the early ones without, later ones with it. I like it without because it's just how Honda wanted it. It's not got any governmental stamping on there, which is what I like. But these pipes, they're in just stunningly good condition. The original owner, like many owners, took them off when he first had the bike in the first month or so, put a 4-into-1 on, and then stored these very carefully for the next 36, 37 odd years. So they are in great, great condition. I do worry about having them on the bike because when you ride with these kind of, irreplaceable pipes, you're going to get chips, you're going to get stones flying up. So I'm toying with the idea of putting a 4-into-2 Hindle on, but resisting that so far because I just love the look of these pipes. They are just, this is how Honda intended this bike to look. And you can begin to see probably underneath, no bike underneath is super clean, but you can see what great condition they're in. Actually, while I'm down here, you very rarely see this. Very hard for me to do this in one hand. That decal, the MG5 decal on the rear of the engine, that would get washed off on most bikes within a couple of years, but this has still got it intact. I'm sorry, excuse me. So that's a really good sign that decal is still there. All right, the final thing would be the seat to talk about, but I might just drop the bike off lower it down off the stand. I'll pause the video and then we'll get back and start it up and talk about that seat. Sit tight. Okay, I'll drop the bike down from the upper position. Let's talk about the seat. So when I first got this bike, the original seat was good, it was intact, but the shippers had compressed it overly in this section here over a number of months from the US to Australia, and it was it wasn't good enough for the bike. So I had to cough up and buy a brand new seat from Honda directly, one of the last ones in the world, for about $1,000. So yeah, for these real classic bikes in this original condition, sometimes you just have to pay that kind of money, I'm afraid. What else to call out? So I'm running, these are Honda indicator stays, but they're not the correct ones. These are the front ones, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 grooves. I do have the 8 groove ones, I'll show you in a moment, but they stick out about this far, like an extra inch or so, and no wonder the owners took them off because they get broken very easily. So I do ride with them if I'm going to a bike show once a year, but I do have those the 8 groove ones I'll show you in a moment, but normal day-to-day riding I use these ones front and back. And by the way, on the 1100.net forum, there's a couple of members there who make these out of aluminium, I think, so they're also a good option. Okay, what else did I want to mention? Come back and talk about mirrors on the bench in a moment. These are my daily rider mirrors, not the original ones because they're too precious. And these are $20 replacements. They look great, but they're not originals. I will show you the originals in a moment. All right, let's start this bike up. Actually, before I do that, a couple of jobs coming up. My clutch basket rubbers are not overly, well, the clutch is not overly noisy, but those clutch basket rubbers in there are going to get replaced next weekend. So it's pretty quiet when it's the engine's cold and the oil's thick, but when the oil thins out, even though I'm running 2050, it does get a little bit noisy, and I think it's those clutch rubbers, damper rubbers need replacing, so I will do that. Has this engine ever been apart? You never know. Some clues there. Is that original Honda Bond coming out there, or is that has this engine been apart? I don't know. You never know unless you've owned it from scratch, but I'm going to assume it hasn't for the moment. The other job I will need to do at some point in the next year is the starter clutch. It starts fine, no weird noises, but it's a weak point on all these, in fact all the Hondas from this period, so that will need addressing, but it's okay for the moment. All right, let's start this bike up. It was started about an hour ago, so it should start just with a bit of choke. Sounds gorgeous, right? Actually, just heard the clutch then. Yeah, it needs attention at some point. All right, let's have a look at these other little miscellaneous items. So, my good friend Michelle, East Coast US, genuine Honda air pressure bag and gauge. Very useful for fork pressure and tyre pressure. Thank you, Michael. Maui Red is the touch-up paint, and also whatever the creamy colour, whatever, I forget what that's called now. Doesn't say on the. There we go. Grand Prix White is the official name of that. The white on the bike. Maui Red, and even some clear coat. So that's a nice little thing to have, and that's what I touched up my tank with. So indicator stays or stems. This is the an example of the standard front ones, and I'm running 4 of these now, 2 on the front, 2 on the back. As I say, you can get the aluminium ones, or you even get replacement ones, but this is standard Honda. The 8 groove, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, yep, still got 8 grooves. I'm paranoid about using these because I'm worried I'll break them. So that's why I'm not using them, but I will put them back on the bike at some point. I try to keep them inside the house so the temperature is not going up and down, you know, nighttime, daytime, nighttime, daytime. Keep them in the house so the temperature fluctuations are minimised. The other really cool thing, and this is a great story I think, when I first got this bike, I had 2 of these packages that looked just like this. Now these are the original mirrors. Now my romantic mind thinks this is the original owner's shirt that he put the mirrors in for safekeeping. Could be off track there, but let's get one of these out. So original mirror. On the face of it, nothing special, but you try finding one. Good luck. And that's the giveaway is the shape. You don't want a diagonal over here, different bike, and you want that precise kink there, and that type of connection, whatever it's called there, and you want the made in Japan symbol on them, and the beautiful Honda or their supplier, whatever they use to finish those off, is gorgeous. All right, we're almost there now. I think I'm going to take the bike outside for a moment and just give you sight of those pipes in the sunlight. So sit tight. So here we are on the front garden, just in the bright sunlight. Ignore the lawnmowers, this is suburbia. But just in the sunlight, this bike I think is the most beautiful bike from the early 80s. I just wanted to showcase it under sunlight conditions rather than up on the stand. Just absolutely ultimate Honda classic design from the early 80s. And the main reason I'm coming out here is to show you these pipes. So let's try to capture. Now if I sound paranoid about these pipes, it's probably because I am, but I love them so much. I'm hoping you can see just the quality of that black chrome finish on these pipes. Let's try a couple of angles here. They're not perfect, they're probably worse now than they were a year ago because I've been riding it for a year, but they're still pretty good. Hopefully in a year's time they've not deteriorated. Maybe I should swap them out for a Hindle, but they just look so good. So maybe come around the other side Yeah, the engine looks super good. Apologies for jumping around. Now we're not in the sun this side. Yeah, you don't quite get the same effect on this side, but I think you get the overall idea. Just and the paintwork. Again, you probably can't see just how good this original paintwork is, but I'll try my best. One thing I forgot to mention, a friend of mine here in Brisbane gave me this little tip. This is not standard, but if you take the tank off, you know, a few times a year like I do, this little bit of window protection, it's like a window seal protector, just protects that edge from catching it up here somewhere. So that's a little bit of today's tip. All right, I think I'm going to leave you one last shot of those pipes from maybe this angle and say, stay safe, happy riding.